What is going on, everyone? My name is Andy. Welcome to, not welcome back, but welcome to Euro 2020 fantasy content coverage on this channel. Now, if you usually watch my channel for FPL, don't worry, that's going to come back as soon as FPL is live. I'll be doing a video / stream straight away. But up until that point and throughout the whole Euro 2020 tournament, I'm going to be doing fantasy football coverage. So that'll be before the tournament starts. We'll talk about particular players, strategies, chips, teams, drafts, all that good stuff. I'm hoping to get a few people on the channel as well to go through their teams. But then throughout the tournament as well, as we'll come on to in a minute, there's a lot of chips to use and quite a lot of micromanagement, right? So we're going to talk about that throughout the tournament as well. So once it's started, we're still going to be producing football content on this channel. So if you are new around here, hit subscribe. Obviously, give the video a like if you enjoy it. In this one, it's a bit of an introductory video. So I'm going to talk about my thoughts around Euro 2020, and then we're going to go into the rules and how it differs to some other fantasy games that you might have played. And then tomorrow, the videos crack on, and we're going to do a first draft as well, because I've already put a team together. I've been playing with it quite a bit. So for anyone that's kind of played FPL, you might want to break, right, from Euro 2020. That's absolutely fine. I find myself that I'm invested enough to make the videos and to enjoy playing the fantasy football game, but it's almost as if I don't worry about it as much. Like if I'm watching a Premier League match and I've got a player there, I really want them to do well. Of course, I want that in Euro 2020 fantasy as well. But if it doesn't happen, I can still enjoy the tournament. So I do think it's easy to enjoy the tournament and play the fantasy football alongside it. And if you like to be engaged with your fantasy team, there's changes to be made nearly every single day throughout the tournament as well. That might put some people off, but for some people that will be an advantage as well. So I'm going to talk about all that in a second. Like I said, give the video a like if you enjoy it, and hit that subscribe button if you are new to the channel. And let's look at the rules, of which there are quite a few. Okay, so like I said, it's a bit of an introductory video. I'm going to go through the rules and kind of some brief stuff about strategy, although I'll touch on that more and more as I do more videos. So when I go through my draft tomorrow, you'll get an idea of why I've picked certain players, because you might look at it straight away and say, what the hell? But it makes more sense when I talk about it a little bit more. All links to sign up are in the description. I've also got a link if you want to join my league. It'll be very competitive, but it's a decent league to join. The code is on screen as well. And yeah, let's go through the rules. This is the third time I've tried to record this now because I keep messing certain bits up. But hopefully I'll get this one locked in. Doesn't matter to you. You're going to see the final one anyway. So overview is you pick players, they get points, happy days, right? This is the first bit which I think is a little bit confusing, which is match day. So if you've played FPL but never played Euro or a UEFA game, match day is basically like a game week, okay? So it's when all the teams have played their games. So there are 7 match days in total corresponding to the 3 rounds of games in the group stage. And then you've got the round of 16, quarterfinals, semi-final and final. So there's 7 match days in total. So just to show you, okay, so this is my team. You get a brief look at it there. You get a proper look tomorrow. This is match day 1. So it's basically all the games from the first round of group games. Okay, so when every team's played their first group game, you then move on to match day 2. They play their second group game, and then you move on to match day 3, and so on, right? So we'll stick to match day 1 for now because there's a bit more explaining to do around this in just a minute. Picking your squad. So you need to pick a squad of 15 players, 2 keepers, 5 defenders, 5 mids, 3 forwards. Not really too much different to any other fantasy game. You get 100 million to spend. That rises to 105 million so from the round of 16 onwards. The reason for that is it doesn't necessarily always work out like this, but the best teams should have the best players. They're more expensive, and then you'd expect most of the best teams, doesn't always happen, to go through to the round of 16 knockout, and because of that it's harder to build a team, so your budget goes from 100 to 105 million. The number of players you can have in your team, so it's 3 for group stage. So if you want 4 or 5 England players, unfortunately you cannot do it. Yes, I'm a little bit pro England, although I try and keep my bias aside when making fantasy content. You can't do that. You can only have a maximum of 3 in the group stage, 4 in the round of 16, 5 in the quarters, so on. 6 for the semis and 8 for the final. Again, the reason is there's just less players to pick from. So if you're in the final, you can only pick 3 players from each team. That's only 6 players, right? So it goes up to a maximum of 8 for that. Managing your squad, so picking your start 11, you get 11 players from your 15 that you pick to start the match day, but you can sub them out, which we'll come on to in a minute. You need to save your team before each match day deadline, which is the kickoff of the first game of the match day. So like I said, I think just a minute ago, the deadline for match day 1 is 8 o'clock on Friday the 11th of June, which is basically the time that Turkey and Italy kick off. It's the same for match day 2. The first game of that round is Finland versus Russia, 2 o'clock on the 16th. That is then the deadline, right? So you've got to have it saved before then. All your match day points will be scored with the players in your starting 11. If any of your starting players don't play that match day, they'll automatically be replaced by substitutes. But have a look at the substitutions section for more information, because you can make manual subs, which we will come on to in just a sec. So you can choose any formation for your team as long as you've picked 1 goalkeeper, at least 3 defenders, 2 midfielders and 1 forward in your starting 11. This is the interesting bit now, the captaincy. So every time you save your team, you'll need a captain pick from your starting 11, right? That's obvious, same as any other game. That player's points are doubled. This is where it gets really, really interesting. This is where the micromanagement comes into it. Once all games on the first day of a match day are finished, and before the other games have kicked off, you can sub out your captain or switch the captaincy to another player who hasn't yet played, right? If your original captain hasn't scored as many points as you'd like, basically it gives you a chance to get a higher score. It does go on to choose some other stuff. If your captain doesn't play on a particular match day and you haven't made any subs during that match day, your captain will be automatically subbed out, but the replacement won't get double points. So you've got to manage your captaincy quite a bit. And it gives you a tip there: select a captain from a team playing on the first day. So essentially, right, this is the games for match day 1. So the strategy is you want at least 3 to 4 strong captaincy picks throughout the week, but they need to be on different days because you can only select 1 captain per day. So let's say you've got Immobile, right, from Italy. You can make him captain on this day, right? Let's say he gets no points, no goals, no assists. You're not happy with that. So the substitution window then comes in until basically the next game for the next day. So before 2 o'clock on Saturday, before this Wales-Switzerland game, you can change your captain, okay? Let's say you've got Lukaku in your team as well. You can change the captain to Lukaku, Belgium. Let's say he gets no points. Okay, that's annoying. Now, they've got to be in your squad to start with, obviously. If you don't own Lukaku, you can't do that. But let's say he gets no points. Bam. Next day, before the first game, which is England versus Croatia at 2 o'clock, you could change your captain to any of these teams, right? Any of these 3 teams. You could change it to someone on a later day, by the way, but if you've got someone from this day, you might as well do it. So that could be Harry Kane. So basically, you want to be changing your captain until you get at least double digits, preferably. Obviously, the less games there are left, maybe you don't take as much of a risk. So let's say you captain someone on this day because the rest of the days have been awful. Let's say it's Ferran Torres for Spain. He gets 8 points. If you've not got anyone good on the last day, like a Ronaldo versus Hungary, then maybe you just stick with the 8 points and you don't swap your captain, right? So that's something to consider. Even if you've not got like a striker, let's say from the first day you've got a Turkey defender, you still want to captain them, because what if they happen to get a clean sheet and a goal? Boom, that's your captain sorted. And if they don't, you just switch the captain to someone else. So for example, if you want to go for strong captains, you might have Immobile for day 1. You might have Lukaku, like I said, Harry Kane here. It could be Ferran Torres, who I said before, and then Cristiano Ronaldo. You've got 5 strong captains. Whether or not you can fit them into your team is a whole different story, but that's how it works. And you want to be switching captains, even if, like on match day 2, for example, even if you've got, I don't know, no players from this team apart from a Wales wing back, you still want to captain them. Okay, hopefully that makes sense, right? And substitutions are similar. After all matches on a single day are finished and before the next match within that match day kicks off, you can sub out a maximum of 4 players unless they've been sent off. So if a player's been sent off, you're stuck with it, basically. And you can replace them with any of your substitutes who are yet to play within the match day. Any players that you sub out will score 0. So again, right, just going back to this, let's say you've got your Turkey defender and they score 2 points, okay? On your bench later on, you might have like a defender from this day, like, I don't know, like a Spanish defender or something like that. You can swap the Turkish player to the Spanish player and then they will play instead, and you'll get their points. Obviously, you can only do that 4 times because you've only got 4 subs. But yeah, that's basically how it works. So you want to be manually making subs and manually making captain changes throughout. Okay. Bear in mind that once you confirm your subs or change captain, they can't be reversed. Yeah, that makes sense. Once the games on the final day of the match day have kicked off, you can't make any changes to your team, right? So that basically means, once France versus Germany is done, you've then got no more changes can be made, like subs or captains or anything like that. Because you can make subs mid-match day, try picking a squad with a balance of players. So yeah, you'll see from my team tomorrow, you want to pick players throughout different match days. So you don't want a squad of like 3 Italy players, 3 Wales, and then 3 Belgium. That means you've got 9 of your first 11 are playing in the first 2 days, and you've got no swaps for these days. You want to have players... You basically want to try and have a balance of players from different groups without just picking bad players, right? It sounds easy, but that's kind of what you want to do. So automatic substitution, that's if you don't make the subs and the players don't play. I don't think we really need to go through this massively. If your goalkeeper doesn't play, then your replacement will be automatically subbed in. If any of your starting players don't play in a match day, they'll be automatically subbed out. The player subbed in will be the highest priority substitute who hasn't played in the match day and whose substitution doesn't break formation. So the first player on your bench, as long as they don't break formation. If you switch the priority order of your subs once a match day has started, that will count as a manual substitution, and no automatic substitutions will happen. So if you make a manual change, nothing automatic happens. To be honest, if you want any chance of doing well in this, you need to be making manual changes anyway. Then we come on to transfers. So transferring players in and out of your squad helps you get more points. Before it kicks off, you get unlimited transfers. You can make as many as you like, right up until that 11th of June deadline. You can also make as many transfers as you like between the group stage and the round of 16. Again, one reason for that is that a lot of teams will go out and you might have players from them, right? And you'll get free transfers. So this is how it works. Before the tournament starts, you can change your team as much as you want. During the group stage, you get 2 transfers per match day. Okay, so once the first round of games are done, you can make 2 subs for the next round, then 2 subs for the final and third group stage game. When the group stage is finished, you get unlimited transfers. And then before the quarterfinals play, you get 3. Before the semi-finals, you get 5. And then before the final, you get 5. So it's quite a lot of transfers you get to make, right? They're being quite generous, right? It's going to help keep people engaged. If you don't use your free transfer match days, you'll only be able to carry 1 forward. So if you don't use your 2 here, you'll have 3 the next match day. You won't have 4. And this is where it gets really interesting, the chips. And there's a lot of chips in this, okay? More than you'd probably expect. Chips allow you to make unlimited changes to your squad. You get 2 chips, which you can play once each throughout the competition. So I'll tell you now, without having read all this, the 2 chips are wildcard and limitless, okay? The wildcard means that you change your whole team and you stick with that team. Okay, so if I pick my squad in match day 1, and then I wildcard in match day 2, I'll have a completely new squad, and that same squad will be the one that I keep for match day 3, apart from obviously the 2 transfers that I get to make, right? Limitless is like the free hit in Fantasy Premier League. So if you pick your squad for match day 1, and then you use Limitless in match day 2, you'll have a different squad, whoever you pick. But in match day 3, you'll get your team from match day 1 back, right? So that's the difference. Wildcard, the players are new and they stick with them until you obviously use your transfers to take them out. Limitless, you get it for 1 week only, and then you get your original team back. So again, in match day 1, you've picked your squad. Match day 2, you use Limitless. In match day 3, you get this game week 1 squad back. And obviously you can make transfers and stuff like that as well. When you play the wildcard, you can make free unlimited transfers, and any players you transfer in will stay in your squad, right? That's what I said before. Normal rules apply, etc., etc. Chip can only be used once, okay? Limitless gives you a chance to change your squad for 1 match day only. When you play it, you get this is the key difference to FPL. You get unlimited free transfers for that match day with no budget restrictions. So you can get pretty much anyone you want. You can have Mbappe, Ronaldo, Kane. Oh, obviously, you've got to have only 3 forwards, but you get what I mean. You're not worried about who, their price, basically. And once it finishes, your squad will return to how it was. Yeah, normal rules apply, etc., etc. What you need to do here is decide kind of when you're going to use your chips. Because before the tournament starts, you get unlimited chips. And before the round of 16, you get unlimited chips as well. Okay? So the only time you can use your wildcard and your limitless are in match day 2, match day 3 in the groups, before the quarterfinals, before the semi-finals, and before the final. So for 5 of the match days, you're going to use 2 chips, which give you unlimited chances. So only 3 match days do you actually only... Basically, you have to use transfers only, right? So there's kind of 2 strategies. One is to use your limitless in match day 2, and then your wild card in match day 3. The reason you'd use both the chips in the group stages is it's the time... It should be the time where there's the highest number of weak teams left in the tournament. So if you get to the semi-finals and you use your limitless chip or your wild card, you're only wildcarding into 4 teams, and the chances are there are 4 good teams, which means in some ways they're going to nullify each other. It could be low scoring. Whereas if you use the chips in the group stages, you can target the weaker teams, right? So you could do that. The only issue is you get unlimited transfers for round of 16, but by the quarterfinals, that's going to cut the teams in half. So if you pick a balance of players and then half of those players miss out because they've been kicked out of the tournament or knocked out of the tournament, you only get 3 transfers, right? So my current strategy is pick my team for match day 1. In match day 2, use limitless. Just target as many good fixtures as you can. So for example, the group of death, France, Portugal, and Germany. Well, you don't want to target France versus Germany or France versus Portugal necessarily, but you might want to target Portugal versus Hungary, and then limitless into France versus Hungary, and then wildcard into Germany versus Hungary, right? Not saying that Hungary are awful or anything, but they are the weakest team in that group. So you could limitless in match day 2, and then this is what I'm probably going to do, is unlimited transfer before the tournament starts, limitless in match day 2, and then in match day 3, you look at your team. If it's good enough to get by with transfers, then you hold the wild card and you use it before the quarterfinals. If it's not good enough, you just use the wild card then, and then you're out of chips. So I wouldn't necessarily set yourself a definite strategy, but it's something to keep in mind, because if you get to the quarterfinals and you're missing a bunch of players, you're kind of screwed. So wildcarding into those last 8 teams is good. But what you would do if you had no chips is in the round of 16, when you have unlimited transfers, you would place bets essentially with the players you pick on who you think is going to go through. So if you think a certain team's definitely going to go through, they're probably a good team to have players from, because you'll have them for the round of 16 and the quarterfinals. I really hope you're following this. It's a little bit confusing, but hopefully I'm explaining it correctly. These are the deadlines. I've already talked about that. It's the first match of the match day. And then this is all the points, right? So one of the differences with FPL, there's no bonus points. So midfielders get an extra point for a goal and an extra point for a clean sheet. So they are quite good compared to forwards, because forwards don't get any bonus. But as you'll see when you pick players, most of the really good players are forwards anyway, because even wingers, like if Salah was in the Euros, he wouldn't be in midfield like he is in FPL. He'd be a forward, right? So it's that kind of thing. So it's 1 point for an appearance, 2 points if they get 60 minutes, 1 goal if they score from outside the box. So you get 1 extra point. Assist is 3. Winning a penalty is 2. Even if it's missed, you get that. If you're the person that fouls the player for the penalty, you get -1. -2 if you miss, -1 for a yellow, -3 for a red card, -2 for an own goal. If a goalkeeper scores a goal, 6 points. Same for a defender. But like I said, they get 1 extra point if it's outside the box. Clean sheet is 4. Every 2 goals conceded is -1. Goalkeeper gets 1 point for every 3 saves and 5 for saving a penalty. And yeah, midfielders get 5 for a goal and 1 for a clean sheet. And forwards only get 4 for a goal. But in this, the forwards are generally much better than the midfielders. There aren't too many of your like Salah or your Hazards necessarily that are classed as midfielders in this. Bear in mind, once your points have been calculated, they won't be adjusted, etc. Clean sheets when they play at least 60 minutes. Okay, so you have to hit 60 minutes before you get the clean sheet, or you have to come on in the 10th minute and get all the way to the 70th minute. If a player gets a red card, they'll continue to be penalised for goals conceded. So if they get a red card 0-0 and then their team loses 4-0, then they'll lose minus points for conceding so many goals. An assist, a player gets a point for an assist whenever he plays the final pass, cross, header or shot which leads to a goal. This also applies to set pieces. You'll also get an assist if it's a goal scored on the rebound, etc. If your player is substituted in the 60th minute, they will be counted as having played 59 minutes. Yes, you've got they need to play a minimum of 64 minutes, okay? Extra time penalties. Players will keep scoring points throughout extra time. However, players can't score points for penalty shootouts. So, game goes to extra time. Player scores a goal, they get points. If they score a goal in the shootout, they don't. And then obviously it's all the stuff about the leagues. So that is the rules. I know it's a lot to take in, but you'll get to understand it more and more as I kind of talk through my own team. The key difference, really, the key thing to think about is the match days. Okay, so you can sub out players and you can change your captain on players. So right now in my team, I've got Chiesa for Italy. Even though I know there's going to be stronger captains, Lukaku, Kane, Mbappe, Depay, whoever it might be, I'm still going to captain Chiesa. And if he happens to score 2 goals, then perfect. I keep him as my captain for the whole first match day. If he doesn't, no problem. I can just sub him out and I can change the captaincy to someone else. So that's a quick introduction to how it works. Tomorrow I'll have my first draft. If you want to join the league code is there. Let me just change to my fancy Euro 2020 intro. But hopefully that was useful. If you've got any follow-up questions that didn't make sense, leave a comment below and I'll try and get back to as many as possible. If you have enjoyed it, please do give it a like and hit that subscribe button. I don't know how many videos I will do between now and the start of the tournament, but I'll try and do a good few. I don't know if it'll be every day, but there'll be a good few coming out. So make sure to keep an eye on that. You'll see my fancy new thumbnails, and obviously, like I said, FPL's content will be back for anyone that's worried as soon as FPL is live. So good luck with the tinkering. Tomorrow we'll talk about my draft. I'll go into more detail about my captaincy and my subs and stuff like that. Until then, I'll see you soon.